Wrokdown.
Hi, welcome to Wrokdown. I'm Wendy Stapleton. Tonight's guest has managed to continue his live work through the ups and downs of the last 4 decades. How he maintained the post of frontman in Zoot while singing beside the good-looking Rick Springfield, I didn't even notice him, says a lot for his professionalism and talent. Well, we pleaded and cajoled, and finally, in the studio, the last of that famous trio, Keays, Morris and Darryl Cotton.
Hi, Wen.
How are you, darling?
Good to see you.
I didn't even see Rick Springfield in that band.
No.
I used to just push my way up the front and get any girl out of the way that was in front of you.
To see me? Gosh, what do I do? I'm embarrassed. A lot of girls like Rick Springfield, though, because he was dark and moody and...
Didn't do it for me, so...
No, well, that's very nice of you to say. And now I'm with Cotton, Keays... Well, you said Keays. What did you say?
Oh,
Keays,
it was
Morris...
only so that I could say and
me, yeah.
and yourself.
The Three Stooges, Curly, Larry and Moe, we're affectionately known as.
The busiest Three Stooges
It's been
planet.
incredible. Yeah. Russell and I got together 14 years ago. It's hard to believe it's that long. And we did a little bit of a stint with Ronnie Burns.
That's right. It was...
Six years with him.
Ooh.
And then Ronnie went off and Jim Keays got on board. And at first I was horrified because Jim Keays, not him. I said, Russell, I don't want to work with him.
Really?
Well, in the old days, Zoot and Master's Apprentices were mortal enemies,
really?
you know. So
it was that serious?
Yeah. Well, no, not really, but we just didn't mix in the same circles.
But it was competitive.
Yeah, and I thought,
you know, very pretty boys.
The Masters?
Hope you've noticed.
Yeah, it's kind of pink. We were a little bit more... fluorescent pink.
Don't you worry, I remember what colour it was. It was the colour of that panel over there. The other thing I was thinking of the other day was they were jumpsuits. A lot of them were like cat suits.
Yeah.
Well, what happened if you...
Oh, we had all those. In fact, in Brisbane one time, I had all my clothes.
Needed to go use the bathroom.
Oh, no, we could do that. I mean, it was stretchy. It was that spandex stuff, you know, long before Rod Stewart had it. But we used to, at one time in Brisbane, I remember it actually, I had the whole thing ripped off. And I was down to basically my undies, and that was about it. And then the police, being Brisbane, rushed on stage at Festival Hall and took me off.
And arrested you?
Well, they said they were going to if I continued. And so I just put a pair of... I can't remember what I put on. I put a pair of shorts on or something and raced back out on stage. And it was all part of the image, the pink clothes we wore, and we were a reasonably good-looking band, you know, Rick Springfield and B. Birtles and Rick Brewer. No,
reasonably good-looking. Have we got a photo here?
No, well, actually, I look at some of those photos and think, oh, we weren't that good-looking, but you know, we had this long hair hanging down. But for its time, it was incredibly well received. But it was the package, you know.
It was a great package, and even the logo, or the slogan, I should say.
Yeah, think pink.
Think Zoot.
Yeah, and then, of course, it started to work against us after a couple of years, because the guys weren't real happy with us all being dressed in pink. And I remember fighting my way out of a number of places, Dandenong, Frankston, you know, all the obvious places where it was a little rough, and so in the end we had to get rid of that. But at the same time, sorry to jump in, music was changing too.
Yes.
You know, the early 60s, mid-60s was that poppy, bubblegum almost sort of music. And then along came Led Zeppelin and all those. And so music changed. So 1970, 71, 72, that's when we changed, because we were a pop band. We were playing music that was popular, you know. So we started to put guitar riffs into our songs and less hand claps and more guitar. And Rick Springfield was instrumental in doing that.
Doing that as well.
Yeah, he was the one that came up with most of the arrangement for Eleanor Rigby, and then all the songs that followed had that sort of heavy guitar feel about them. So as a result, we got rid of the pink clothes and showed everyone we're changed now. We've grown up.
Hey, were you all Adelaide boys?
Beeb and I were. Oh, Rick Brewer was, of course, yeah. The three of us. Beeb, Rick Brewer and myself, we were all Adelaide boys.
So you grew up...
Beeb and I grew up together. We actually came to Melbourne in 68. It's 40 years this year we came to Melbourne. And we had another drummer who was another Adelaide guy.
And that was Zoot?
And that was Zoot.
Where'd you get the name?
Doc Neeson. Incredibly, yeah. We were like a little local Adelaide band, and we lived we were out of town a little bit, and we were trying to get into some of the city venues. So we went to an audition, and there was Doc Neeson and another guy, Alan Hale, I remember his name, and they were like dance promoters. Doc was like running dances out at Elizabeth and all these other places, and so they were auditioning bands for gigs. And
wow!
So we went on, and we were called Down the Line. I don't know. It was actually named after a Holly song that we liked, and we did our audition, and we were pretty, we were pretty okay for our age and everything. And Doc actually came up and he said, "Look, I like you guys." He said, "But I hate your name. You should call yourself Zoot."
Well, where did he get it from?
Well, I think he got it from, there was a singer in England called Zoot Money, a sort of a jazz singer, Zoot Money and his big roll band. And we knew that because we were very sort of English influenced. And I said to Doc, I said, "Oh, there's already a guy called Zoot Money, So we went away and we never saw Doc ever again. And I said to the guys probably about a month later, Zoot's a pretty catchy sort of name. So we adopted Zoot. But Doc was actually responsible for it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we've seen each other and talked about it since.
Hey, were your family English?
No, just Aussies.
Was anyone else in your family in showbiz?
No, not really. Apparently my grandfather used to sing on radio when it was live radio. Oh. They'd go into the studio and actually sing live. But obviously I wasn't around then, but I heard that he did.
Did that?
So, yeah, I was the only one. I wanted to be a school teacher. And I was sort of, doing all my, I did all the full thing at school, but then this band called the Beatles came along, and I thought, gee, I want to be in a band. I want to.
It's changed everyone.
Yeah, they did. They changed a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I thought, no, I want to be in a band. So we got this band together at school. That's how it started. And slowly my aspirations of being a school teacher just disappeared,
So obviously you got the gigs through Doc and started to move into better venues in Adelaide?
Well, yeah, we actually didn't end up working for Doc, but we started to get a reputation as being quite a good young band. So we moved in from Port Noarlunga, which is down the coast of Adelaide. This is getting like a geography lesson. And we moved into the city, started getting jobs, and then we worked with the Twilights. Which was ironic because Beeb and I loved the Twilights. We were like huge fans. We'd go along and we'd watch them on a Friday night, and we'd sleep in Beeb's car on Friday night, to the following morning. We'd go down the beach and go to sleep. And we did a show with them, and there was a guy called Wayne DeGrucci who you'd know.
Yes,
you would have known of Wayne. And Wayne was their tour manager, and he saw us and he thought we were great. And so he rang EMI, and then they sent someone over to have a look at us, and next thing we had a record deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which doesn't happen these days, sadly.
Well, not usually that way. Usually you used to have to leave Adelaide, choose whether you were going to go to Melbourne or Sydney.
Yeah,
and then try and get yourself noticed.
Well, we got the deal in Adelaide, but we did have to come to Melbourne. So that was 1968. So, we were, it was great.
So, well, that's the first part of your life, and you've done so much.
I'm so old.
You're Peter Pan, obviously. We'll take a short break.
All right.
And we'll talk about your television career. Be back soon.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My special guest is Mr. Peter Pan himself.
Get out.
You are, look at you.
Yeah, sure.
Darryl Cotton. So we were up to...
We did the first half of my life. Now
the first part of your life, moving to Melbourne with the band.
Yeah.
And, of course, then the idea of the pink was Wayne...
yeah, that was Wayne DeGrucci.
Wayne idea?
Yeah, we owe him a lot because he was the one that came up with the concept, and it really attracted attention.
It did, yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, it's set the benchmark for all the others, because then all of a sudden bands like the Valentines started wearing
red. Did they wear the red?
No, they wore aqua and orange, and the Town Criers wore red. And then the Masters Apprentices wore leather because they had to be a little bit cooler.
You're right, actually. I remember.
But we started that, and we owe a lot to Wayne. Wayne was the first one to say, "Okay, you're going to do 40-minute spots. That's it. 40 minutes and you're off." And that hadn't been done for a long, long time. So and then everyone else got to do that as well. And then they started those big shows where it would be 40 minutes from us, 40 minutes from the Valentines, the Masters.
And you'd go off to another gig?
Yeah, then we'd head off from, that was funny too, because we'd work in Frankston and then we'd have to get to Ringwood. And if we were late, we were only getting $80. and the guy would dock us maybe $20 if we were late, you know. And we had like an hour to get over there and be on stage. It was
How long did Zoot actually
well, 71. We did Eleanor Rigby, which was quite a big hit.
Yes,
well, it was number one pretty much, and a gold record. And we'd pretty much done it all by then. We'd been together for 3 years, and or been together longer than that. But it was out of frustration, and Rick was incredibly ambitious, and he wanted to do other things. We were actually offered a record deal with RCA in America. They were going to release Eleanor Rigby, but EMI wouldn't let us go.
Wouldn't release you.
And in this day and age, something would be worked out. You know, one record company would swap and they'd share the points or whatever. But in those days, we just didn't have the knowledge of how to do that. And so we just sort of went,
You're stuck.
It's the end of the road, you know. And we actually decided to go our own ways, not because we hated each other, just because we just didn't know what else to do. Yeah, we were kind of over doing that touring thing.
So you went to America for a while?
Yeah, I did eventually. I mean, Rick Springfield was the first one. He had Speak to the Sky out, and he had this solo career, went to America. But I got there eventually. I went to England first, just because that was an easy place to get to, being Australian. And then I was taken to America, and I became part of a band called, well, it was called Friends. And they put me together. I'll try and keep this really brief. But they were going to create another Monkeys, and they put me with Mel Torme's son, and another guy called Ron Dante. Ron Dante was the voice of the Archies, you know.
Oh, yes.
Sugar, da-da-da. Well, that was Ron. And Michael Lembeck, who was in... I've seen all these guys since. I've seen credits. Michael Lembeck has directed and produced Friends, some of the episodes. They have different directors every week. Anyway, they put us all together to do this band thing. Oh, and Michael Lloyd, who was at the time producing the Osmond Brothers. And we spent about a month in the studio, and we hated each other. I mean, I didn't like those guys one bit.
But then you came back to Australia, and how did you end up having your own television show? Because that went for a very long time. We're talking about Marty
Monster,
Monster.
which even today I have people every week someone will stop me in the street and say, "How's Marty?" Or used to watch you as a kid.
Grew up with
I
you.
know it was a fun show. I loved it. I loved doing it.
But it was a long time too, wasn't it?
Yeah, 5 years, and 5 hours live every Saturday morning. So, but it was great. It was just something that.
How did you get that job?
Look, I don't know, because when they rang me, I said, "You sure you got the right guy here? I'm not the most outgoing person in the world." And I think they wanted another Shirley Strawn sort of, because Shirley was always larger than life. So I did a telethon for Channel 10, and they included a little kids segment within the telethon for a couple of hours. And they rang me up and said, "We'd like you to host this kids show."
And also, that would open up a lot of doors for sort of, if you could call it more like corporate or functions to do with kids and stuff like that, whereas people wouldn't have seen you before that. It was more the pop star.
Yeah, although I had done, just prior to that, I played Joseph in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolour Dreamcoat. And I did 6 months, and that was really successful. And I actually got offered to go to England and do the part over there. But at the same time, Channel 10 rang me. And my daughter Amy had been born, and I thought, no, I'm going to stay here and do the kids' show, because who knows what that would have done. And I wasn't really a theatre. I loved doing Joseph. It was a great experience. And even that came about by accident. The people had been in Australia casting at the show, and they didn't have a Joseph. They got everyone else. And they were at a dinner party, the producer, Bill Kenwright, and he said, "Oh, we don't have a Joseph." And someone said, "Oh, Darryl Cotton would be good for..." So they got a clip of me appearing on Countdown. And they looked at it and they rang me and said, "We want you to play Joseph." I didn't even have to audition.
Wow.
And initially I was typical me. I was like, "Oh, are you sure I can do this?" But it was great. And I got a little note from Bill, which I've kept. And I mean, he's an international producer, and it said, "You're the best Joseph I've ever had, ever worked with." So that meant a lot to me,
you,
And as I said, he offered me the part in England before Jason Donovan, So, but anyway, I did the Early Bird Show. I have no regrets,
Yeah.
And as you said, it opened the door to do a lot of kids stuff. I've always been a jack of all trades. And,
Yes.
I've always done a bit of everything, and probably regret a little bit that I didn't work a little more on my music. in terms of a musician, you know.
But you see, the thing is, you can do that
Yeah.
and still not have any more success.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that you could spend every waking hour of your life writing songs. There's no guarantee that you're going to have any success with it. I think you've been smart. But we'll take a short break and we'll talk about what you're up to these days.
Okay.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. My special guest this evening is the one and only Darryl Cotton, busiest man in Melbourne.
Oh, I don't know, but very busy.
Very busy.
Busier now than ever before.
So, okay, we know that Cotton, Keays, Morris are touring constantly all around Australia. You are halfway through the choir that's...
The Australian Youth Choir tour, yeah. So as I said earlier, I'm just doing lots of different things, and the Australian Youth Choir, I'm nearly finished that run, which was a national tour with the Australian Youth Choir. Just doing my own solo things.
Yes.
Just doing a bit. I'm off to America in a couple of weeks for a little bit of a talk with a few people over, just about songs and things. So yeah. I hate talking about myself, but I mean, I'm busy. So, the Zoot DVD, that's one I didn't mention. I've actually, when Rick was here recently for the Countdown shows.
That's right, yeah.
And Beeb, they were both on the same show. I got with them and we filmed some footage. And what I'm doing is I'm putting together Zoot. But on its own, I don't know that that's got a lot of strength. But what I've done is Zoot and then what happened to each member of Zoot. You know?
That's
so that gives it a lot more interesting, you know.
And it would also give it an American...
an international thing.
An international market.
Yeah, with Rick in Japan. And I've uncovered footage that even the other guys haven't seen. I showed them some of it. And so we taped about an hour with Rick talking, and Beeb the same, and Rick Brewer, the drummer, he's up in Queensland. Northern New South Wales, under a tree somewhere, you know. He was always the hippie of the band.
Oh, God bless him. Sounds pretty good to me, actually.
He went into the Ferrets after Zoot, so with Billy Miller, so say no more.
That's who I started singing with.
Oh, right. So each one of us has a story, you know, and I did the Early Bird Show, of course, with Marty Monster. So the DVD will trace that, a bit of a family tree.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
And when do you think that...
Well, it's just the editing. I've got so much stuff, you know. I've found so much stuff. I found so many clips of Zoot, and then individually where each person's gone. The Little River Band for Beeb and Early Bird Show.
See, of course, you forget that that's also a huge American market.
So it makes it a pretty interesting DVD.
Does Rick Springfield still do television in the States?
Yeah, he's back doing General Hospital as Dr. Noah, whatever it was. I never saw it, but...
well, this could be huge.
Yeah,
look, Zoot thing could be huge.
I know, I'm hopeful, but I was trying to have it finished this year because it's 40 years since we first came to Melbourne. But I might be pushing it, so because I'm so busy with these other projects. So, but if not, it'll be first thing next year. So that's a good one. I'm looking forward to that.
That's a wonderful idea, and I want a signed copy.
I'll get you a copy, Wayne. You'll get the first one.
He says that to all the girls.
Yeah, I do. That's true.
Well, look, Darryl, thank you so much
That's all right. It's been fun.
Finally coming in. I have been asking.
That's all right. No, you asked me last after those other two. You
did not.
You did. Yeah, that's all right. I won't take it personally.
Look, you know,
it's been an absolute pleasure.
We're going to finish off tonight's show.
Pleasure, I mean.
With a clip that was played very, very early on in our first season.
Not one of mine. You're not going to finish with one of mine? No?
No, I'm taking you to the pub.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to buy him a fire engine.
A raspberry. Oh, I love it. Raspberry lemonade. Yeah. Is that what they're called?
Fire engine.
Oh, okay.
It's raspberry, Coke, a little bit of vodka. You can't taste the vodka. You can't taste the vodka.
Okay. All right.
They're more fun.
All right.
No, I'm only joking. Yeah. Getting back to what we're leaving with. We played it in our first season. It was Bombora, their first hit back in the 60s. And here's a new one from the Atlantics. It's Point Zero. And would you please thank...
See you, Wayne. Great to see you.
Darryl. Good night.
Thanks, everyone.